In this video I try to fix my first Sharp MZ80K. There will be a lot of cleaning music montages, contact cleaner sprayed and chip swapped music. Hello and welcome to episode 8 of Computer TLC. In this episode we will be trying to fix a type of computer that I've been talking about a lot lately, and that is definitely in my top 5 vintage computers. Let's quickly summarize what has previously happened in this MZ80K saga to show how I ended up with 2 Sharp MZ80Ks. My first MZ80K I picked up in November of 2022. I took it home where I discovered that it was not working. As I always try, I drowned the chips in contact cleaner to see if any of the sockets were oxidized, preventing the computer from working. That treatment didn't work, and my first MZ80K spent a lot of time as a nice art piece on a shelf. Fast forward to December of 2023, and my second MZ80K has shown up from the United Kingdom. This was a case of eBay trolling gone wrong. A positive with this second MZ80K is that this is in working condition. It came with a large amount of software that I'm in the process of archiving now for my online amateur archive. So now that I have 2 MZ80Ks, one in working and one not working order, I want to try some troubleshooting techniques to see if we can diagnose the non-working one and see if we can get it up and running again. I want to make a more detailed video about the history of the MZ80K and how it works, so in this video we will just be focusing on the fixing endeavors. On the right is the working UK one. And on the left my broken one. Let's lift the hoods. What becomes clear when we take a look at the non-working one is that that one is very dirty. It looks like it was kept in a sort of hay shed for years. Aside from the dust, you can also see the stains from the contact cleaner I used. So I want to take out the motherboard and give that a clean. Taking out the motherboard is pretty straightforward. Just unscrew 6 screws and detach the cables. This motherboard really looks mummified. I have this electronics microscope of dubious quality that I want to put the motherboard under, just for fun. Let's have a look. The quality makes it look like this is filmed underwater, but it also gives a good look at how disgusting this motherboard is. Everything is coated in a layer of dust, even the tops of the capacitors. To clean this coating away, I want to use 96% alcohol. Some of the codes on the ICs are hard to read because of the layers of gunk. I wonder if this is keeping the computer from booting into the monitor program. And then this test spot I used some alcohol on shows what the PCB should look like. I used a paintbrush to rub off some of the loose dust. I imagined that immediately using the alcohol would make it harder to clean that dust away. After most loose dirt was wiped off, I started pouring on the alcohol on the motherboard. The dirt was quite stubborn, so I had to use a bit more force. Of course not too much, but occasionally I could see some parts moving. I figured that those would be quite replaceable. It was very satisfying to see the PCB green and the traces appear from the dirt. The alcohol that was dripping off the motherboard was absolutely disgusting. I was in a bit of a conundrum about cutting away a lot of this cleaning footage, but since I find it so satisfying, this video has a lot of cleaning montages. The alcohol was making the motherboard much cleaner, but still there was a slight layer of dirt on it. I figured that submerging the whole motherboard in a layer of alcohol might fix that. And this turned out, not trying to pat myself on the back, a good decision, as that removed the final layer. With my heat gun on a very low temperature, I dried/blew off the remaining alcohol. Oh, and this is what that remaining alcohol looked like. Gosh. I wanted to spray some contact cleaner in the socketed chips. Now that the dust and gunk is removed, this will not leave the stains it did. Love the way the ceramic chips look. Just a quick reminder of what the motherboard looked like before its alcohol bath. Then I pressed down on the RAM chips. I use a lot of contact cleaner and recently found these big cans from a to me unknown brand. These cans are very big. Here they are next to my Doggo Betsy as a size comparison. Of course I'm not going to put my newly cleaned motherboard back into this case. Again with a brush I wiped loose the dust and then vacuumed it up. I don't know why, but this dust looks very toxic. By the way, I think my ZV-1 was a bit inebriated from hanging over all the alcohol fumes, as its focus kept going haywire. Then I wiped the whole case with the glass cleaner, even the transformer. Pretty resilient dust, as even when the glass cleaner evaporated, there is still a very small layer visible. I put back the motherboard into the case and turned it on. Sadly, the cleaning did not fix the computer, as I now think there really is a faulty part at play here. The cassette drive still works, luckily. Let's do a shout out to both my cassette decks for still functioning after 40 years of service. Now I wanted to try the faulty motherboard in my working MZ80K. For this I had to cut 2 wires as someone modded a reset switch into it. But same different case. Another thing I wanted to try and thought about out loud in my video showcasing it was to see if the motherboard in my MZ1200, which probably had been in a flood, would fit in an MZ80K case. But that motherboard is completely different. I put the working motherboard into the case of the non-working one. I wanted to know if the keyboard functions. The keyboard works, but while typing I could notice that the switches were very sensitive. Now I want to swap over some of the socketed ICs from the not working board to the working one, starting with this Sharp chip. I believe this is the ROM containing the monitor. The computer still works with the chip inserted. Next, this bigger chip, Sharp LH0080. This is the CPU of the computer. The LH0080 is fully compatible with the NMOS versions of the Zilog C80. Swap the CPU over, but still no change. The working board still works. Same for another chip, and the non-working board is still not working. Then this NEC chip, which I believe is a sort of timer chip. Nope, this IC also appears to work. Then I moved on to the RAM chips. I sort of tried to postpone this because I knew this was going to be a bit tedious. I don't really have a good IC puller, so always fear I break something, although this screwdriver was working quite well. I started by swapping 3 of the chips. Then removed the whole bank of ICs to see what would happen. And then removed another bank. Tested again. Then I decided to move a whole bank from the working unit to the non-working one. Let's see what happens. Yay! It loaded the monitor program. That means we have a bad or multiple bad RAM chips in this unit. When this happened, looking at the issues it had, I think it would have been more logical to start with the RAM chips. I put back the other banks of RAM one by one to see when the computer would start malfunctioning again, which made me determine that some of the chips in this bank are faulty. These are 4116 RAM chips. Well, luck has it that a while back I bought a big lot of chips, and among that lot, that I still want to look at in a separate video, was also this box filled with 4116 chips. The lot was untested, but I think it is safe to say that I will find enough working chips in this little box. Let's populate the sockets. Nice, now it's back to fully working. Now let's try to load the program. I'm using my old cassette adapter. While loading, I noticed that there is some burn-in on the CRT tube of my fixed MZ80K. It appeared to be text, so I wanted to know what it said. I believe it is possible to take a picture and then change the setting, but I wasn't sure what setting anymore. But then I read online that if you shine a black light on it, you will be able to see what the burn-in says. Well, let's see. I can make out the word article number. Some other words I could not really make out. It sort of appeared to be a mixture of two words burned in on top of each other. Another line read, put in article number and the word menu. So this machine was probably kept on for long periods of time in a sort of warehouse, with the same program being displayed. Shame the tape of that program wasn't included. I wondered if there was any burn-in on my Commodore PET. To run Space Invaders, you need to type an address. Go to $2000. Nice, it runs. I also loaded the version of the actual cassette tape. This is a lovely program that is great to run as a demo to show off the MZ80K. This is an example of one of the programs that will become available on my MZ80K pages on my archive. I will soon make an adventures in archiving about the MZ80K as I finished recording all the cassettes and have already managed to catalog 151 programs. I'm not sure yet when the pages will become public, but still have to figure out a couple things before that will be possible. But my gut feeling tells me the group of people interested in using MZ80K software is small. To finish this TLC episode, I wanted to swap back the motherboards to their respective cases. Cleaned the case one more time, then I quickly brushed off some dust of the UK motherboard. The UK MZ80K had a reset switch mod that appeared to have been made using Bluetech, which is an interesting choice, certainly when someone goes to the trouble of putting a hole in the side of the case, so let's solder it in place. My iron could have been a little bit hotter now looking back at the footage. This wasn't too difficult of a soldering job, although I soldered from above. My mod works great. Well, that wraps up this Computer TLC on my MZ80Ks, now both in working order. More to come on these computers. Well, if you are among those who made it all the way here, and it's probably not a lot, Betsy and I want to especially thank you for watching.